Welcome to the GasCast. My name is Sam, and today's topic is transportation. I'm here with Bill,
Brian,
Nate,
and Glenn.
All right, so transportation, we all know that it is a leading cause of greenhouse emissions in the atmosphere. So the transportation sector generates the largest share of greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions from transportation primarily come from burning of fossil fuel from cars, trucks, ships, trains, and planes. Over 90% of the fuel used for transportation is petroleum-based, which includes primarily gasoline and diesel. In a study done in 2017, greenhouse gas emissions from industry are 22%, electricity at 28%, and transportation is the leading at 29%. The largest sources of transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions include passenger cars and light-duty trucks, including sport utility vehicles, pickup trucks, and minivans. These sources account for over half of the emissions from the transportation sector. The remaining greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector come from other modes of transportation, including freight trucks, commercial aircraft, ships, boats, and trains, as well as pipelines and lubricants. Relatively small amounts of methane and nitrous oxide are emitted during fuel combustion. And in addition, a small amount of hydrofluorocarbon emissions are included in the transportation sector. These emissions result from the use of mobile air conditioners and refrigerated transport. So, how do you guys get around day to day?
I drive a Toyota Corolla.
I drive a Highlander.
Buick Verano.
I drive a Ford Focus.
So do we all commute here?
I think we're all
Yeah.
commuters.
Yeah.
I commute an hour each way too, so that's like 2 hours of commuting each day.
I've got like 45 minutes.
45.
Yeah.
I'm right off campus, but I still drive my car to campus just because it's convenient, you know?
Yeah, it's convenient, and I don't feel like walking through a terrible neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, so we all drive cars. Who doesn't, right?
Kids.
Well, yeah.
Had to be that guy.
But even they'll take a bus or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So everyone will drive a car because it's convenient. But I think you said you drove a Toyota.
Yep.
Yeah, so Toyotas are number 3 in the car industry's Dirty Dozen, which is the top 12 industries that cause the most carbon emissions.
Ooh.
Really?
What do you guys think number 1 is? I don't know. Did we talk about this in your podcast?
I think it's
The most-
Volkswagen.
It is, yeah, it
The
is
most
Volkswagen.
polluting
Yeah.
is
What is a BMW?
no
No, is that the
B-
best
no BMW is one of the cleanest.
Yeah, BMW is pretty good. It was Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Yeah, General Motors is pretty high up there too at number 4, and then Honda. Yeah.
General Motors is actually it's probably only up there because like of all of the like car companies they own under General Motors, but like they're actually doing like a whole like lot of like sustainability practices that like is helping their carbon footprint. So
Yeah, they might
but
just be.
it makes sense.
They might just be making a lot just because they are so big.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like what you said in your podcast. It's like a lot of these companies will advertise how they like acknowledge that there's carbon emissions and everything, but they won't actually act on it, but some of them do. Yes, in 2017, U.S. transportation sector emissions by source says that light-duty vehicles make up 59% carbon emissions. Medium and heavy-duty trucks make up 23%. Aircraft only make up 9%, which I was kind of surprised about. I thought that was going to be way higher, considering how many planes are in the air. Rail is 2%, and ships and boats are at 3%. Yes,
Is that percentage is of just the transportation sector?
that's just
Okay.
transportation sector. Yeah.
Because I know that, like you said, airlines are 9%. But like I like in one of like the articles I was reading, it said that like airline actually produce almost 2% like of all global like greenhouse gas emissions. So that's
Oh.
like I don't know. I mean, that's like you said, you would think it would be higher, but I think the numbers can be deceiving, and like they actually like, yeah, it is a staggering amount, even though it's less than 2%.
Yeah.
So from like non-transport sources, like shipping and military.
Everything, yeah. Yeah, like cargo too.
This is like, it seems this is like personal, just U.S. personal transport, personal transport.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is also just U.S. Also, this was taken pretty recently, so maybe airlines have gotten like better about their
Yeah.
carbon emissions.
A lot of them have, like United, I know, is like making a lot of like strides to like have better
Like
better
green fuel.
burning fuel. Like
Yeah.
a lot of like they're messing around with a lot of biofuels that's making their airlines more sustainable.
Yeah, for sure. So the carbon footprint of the global car industry equaled 9% of annual global greenhouse gas emissions in 2018, according to a new greenhouse report. So what do you guys think are some ways you could reduce your transportation carbon footprint?
Carpooling.
Yeah.
I know that like a lot.
That's a big one.
Yeah, a lot of my friends actually like go to NIU that like live around me, and we could carpool,
Mhm.
but we just have kind of like different class schedules. So like one friend gets out an hour early before me, and then it's we could hypothetically carpool, but it would just
It's inconvenient.
exactly.
Me and my sister spent a really long time figuring out our schedules so that we could both carpool here instead of taking separate cars.
Right.
Yeah, that's good. I know in LA they're like they encourage people to carpool a lot.
Yeah.
They have a lane specifically just for that, so that people could travel faster on their commutes to work.
Yeah, like I know that like for a fact, when I was talking about Google, I know Google like does like a lot of like incentives for their employees to not like drive to work. So they have like bike to work programs that like you can get extra days off and like paid bonuses for just not driving your car to work.
Yeah. So CO2 emissions from a gallon of gasoline create 9,000 grams of CO2 per gallon. Diesel is more at 10,000 grams of CO2 per gallon. The average passenger vehicle emits about 404 grams of CO2 per mile. A typical passenger vehicle emits 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. And this is assuming that the average gasoline vehicle on the road has a fuel economy of about 22 miles per gallon.
So it's basically we're throwing out a couple pounds of trash every mile we drive.
Yeah. That was-
Like throwing a block of like carbon.
Yeah, literally.
And it's like one of our like largest sources for like personal carbon footprint. Like pretty sure more than half of our carbon footprint just comes from transportation. So even reducing that or switching to electric vehicles would be a huge help.
Mhm.
Like imagine if you just like figured out how like what volume of gas you use in a day to commute, and then you just took that volume of gas and just like burnt it in your backyard just to see like what you're doing. Like man, I'm burning like just like every day I'm just like taking like a gallon of gasoline and just burning it.
Right. I think if it was more of like if you could actually see what was going on, then people would definitely be more like environmentally conscious. Because like what people don't see, they just don't think about.
Yeah.
So
It's like an abstract concept to them.
There's got to be a
Right.
better incentive too, because information doesn't always lead to action.
Yeah.
Action leads to action.
Have gasoline reflect the true cost of what it like actually should be.
Yeah.
Paying like $13 a gallon.
There'd be riots.
What if you mod people's cars to shove exhaust in their cab? And
They would die.
Be a lot of
yeah,
Sounds like
action,
a
man.
take how to torture the public.
Some Antifa shit.
Some people do like see the effects of it like manifest physically though, like in like bigger cities you get like big amounts of smog, in the air.
Yeah.
You get no sunlight, you're just breathing in that bad air.
I know like San Francisco has a big problem with that.
Yeah. It's just bad quality of life. Yeah, so some other solutions would be to switch the kind of fuel you use and like the kind of vehicles, like you were talking about using electric cars. That's a good solution. Even then, though, you would have to create power plants to generate all this electricity.
And we could like, it'll be more of like a point source where we could like clean up like a power plant instead of just having a million different cars polluting in different areas.
Yeah.
How does pricing work at those like electric car refill stations?
It's a good question.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
It might be based off of like what they're charging at the time of day, because it'd probably be more expensive during the day to charge your car
Right.
than
Yeah.
at night.
Definitely see them more and more though. Like there's a couple of them in this garage right here.
The electric charging stations.
Yeah.
And same thing for transportation with like electric cars. You're still getting that electricity from somewhere,
Exactly.
and that could be coal. Probably the bulk of it is coal.
Yep. Definitely.
100%.
And we
Coal.
could just change that to renewable.
I remember hearing someone call electric cars coal-powered cars.
Yeah.
That's true. Guess it also takes like natural gas and like nuclear power to create electricity. I guess it just depends where you get it from. Apparently, there's also some cars that can run on hydrogen. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in development.
I think we just need better public transportation systems when it comes down to it, honestly.
It's really hard though, you know? Like
Well,
we've got such
that's-
a big country
I don't think
here.
that could ever happen because our whole infrastructure in the U.S. is already like set up
Yeah.
for like personal cars, where
Yeah.
everything's pretty decently far away now.
It would definitely need to have some sort of like culture change.
It'd be super big. Like
Yeah.
people
obviously.
like it's not like imagine if you had to, instead of driving an hour to work every day for like a job that you want right out of college, you have to take the bus. That I'd like almost not take the job because of that.
Right. Yeah, I guess it all depends on, where you are geographically. I know that a lot of my friends in this city, like who work closer to Chicago, definitely use the public transportation system a lot more compared to like if you got a job in DeKalb, then you would definitely have to use your car. So I guess it all depends where you are.
Yeah, that's another thing. Just like decreasing the demand for travel.
Right.
People are looking into like zoning for like mixed use areas so that like schools and like businesses are closer together, so you just don't have to drive as much.
Yeah. Stay-at-home jobs becoming more popular. That's gonna help too.
Yeah.
There's this video I watched a little while ago of a man who like got his dream job in DC, but he lives in Virginia, so he commutes 220 miles per day, and it's like a several-hour commute. He like drives to a train station, takes a train, like carpools. I'm just like, Jesus, man.
Why doesn't he just move?
Right.
Yeah.
At that
I
point.
guess it's cheaper to just live. I guess he probably budgeted and found out it's cheaper to live there and then just commute.
Yeah, I guess just how much value do you put on your time at that point?
Yeah. Also, they're working on making biodiesel as an alternative for just like regular diesel. You can make biodiesel from like oilseed crops, algae, stuff like that.
Is like the biodiesel gonna be any better for the environment than regular gasoline in terms of emissions?
Yeah, it's like most bio.
Well, it's renewable. It's
Yeah.
still polluting, but it's at least renewable.
Yeah.
And generally less polluting
Yeah, I
than
did see
carbon
it.
dioxide.
Yeah.
Well, shouldn't it? Isn't it just would it just be the same thing? I mean, it's still diesel.
Yeah,
The
I
only
guess it's
difference
just
is that
older.
it's a renewable source of diesel.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I know that like they're using like sugarcane in Brazil as like biofuels. I'm not exactly like sure on.
Just go back to manpower.
Yeah, but it is better that it's renewable.
Alright, this has been the GasCast. I'm Sam.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Brian.
And I'm Phil.